be a technical problem. Thank you, thank you. Let's start. Well, thank you for coming. And I'll try to follow the language of the panel. English is not my native language. I speak Portuguese, but I'll try to speak in English today. So I'll try to speak slowly and hopefully clearly. But if you have any problems, I will try to translate in Portuguese to be comprehensible. As you heard, my name is Amália Câmara, and I'm an assistant professor at University of Pernambuco. Where is it? Okay. And here's where I work. I lecture the ethics disciplines as philosophy, ethics, and hermeneutics at law school, Pernambuco University of Pernambuco, and I work in this very interesting building, and I got most excited when I received the invitation to discuss ethics, because to be here at EpiCrowd today, it is a great opportunity to me to make some theoretical extrapolations about a very important area, an important matter, a constitutional matter for us Brazilians here. That's why I choose big data, electronic health records, and ethics to be the theme of my presentation today. First of all, it's important to understand how health and information are rights here in Brazil of equal importance, because both are considered fundamental rights. Both are constitutionally protected, so there is no hierarchy between them. And when we try to turn health more efficient in the public administration, sometimes we have to work with other rights that can be that can turn into a shock of rights. To understand this better, I brought a classic division between fundamental rights we use widely here in Brazil, that they are based in French Revolution ideology, that rights of first generation, second generation, and third generation. The rights of first generation rights are civil rights, political rights, and rights linked to the liberties, individual liberties. It's what turned the citizen, the individual singular. Rights of the expression liberty, expression of information, my intimacy, the privacy, the image of the individual. So information are strongly related to the first generation rights. The second generation linked to the of equality, isonomy, what turns every citizen the same to the state, theoretically. So the state is obligated to provide some service to make every citizen able to be educated, healthy. So the state must be somehow intervenient in the private life of the individual to make those rights of second generation work. And the last, well, obviously the second generation rights, health can be classified in the second generation health, public health. The third generation are linked to the idea of fraternity. So there are rights that link to the nature of human being. Every human being around the world, no matter where jurisdiction is inserted, no matter country, no matter where he is placed, is able to be defended by states or supranational organisms to have this kind of rights defended for. So we have worldwide peace right, we have a safe environment right, we have economical, psychological, personal development possibilities rights linked to the third generation rights. But to discuss public health and information, we have actually a gray zone here in Brazil that's a little bit problematic. On the one hand, we have the civil rights linked to the sensitive information of the citizens, like image, family, your health, and those rights you may choose not to be exposed. On the other hand, there's a tendency today of that the state must be intervening and to know better your citizens, to think in better public policies to make people healthier. So there is a private law that guarantees no invasion of private life and is regarded to sensitive information. And on the other hand, we have the public law that obligates the state to work and to know and to do something, even if the citizens not actually approved it expressly. And so that's a very, very, very problematic zone. So we're talking about big data. And to know better about big data, in order to let the idea clear, I just brought something very commonly used to define big data. We know that big data is defined first for their volume. The volume is the first characteristic that is the basis of the concept of big data. Really big amounts of data, it's what defines what is big data, but not only the amount of data. We actually need that this data must be accessible in a real speedy way. The velocity, the second characteristic, it's what we can do, what can be done, what can be researched in real time or almost near real time. The second characteristic is the variety, the range of the data that is collected, and that can be found in in structured format, such as relational databases, but that can be also found in unstructured formats, like audio, pictures, videos, a really big test where you can find in internet. Well, the veracity is the truthness behind the data. actually, veracity and value are characters very important in this matter, because the data is only important and it's only useful if there is a reliable consistency behind of it. And the value, the worth, it means that the data is able to bring significant benefits and offset previous investments. So I researched many examples, and I found a very nice a test from a Brazilian magazine called Exame, and they brought us 5 really good examples, and I thought about it and organized in that way some possibilities that is current today. Here in Brazil, at Instituto do Coração in São Paulo, Heart Institute, there are current studies about the HIV virus. They use private databases and public databases to cross information and to know how is the behavior of the virus mutation. And so hopefully one day we can find that way the cure for AIDS. The second example come from Boston University. There are so many studies about well-set treatment protocols of cancer. But the most common cancers, like breast cancer and prostate cancer, there are very well-set protocols of treatment. But the less common cancers, like cancers that affect the children, there are no protocols widely used. So they use the social networks that link the hospital, laboratories, clinicians, medical doctors, patients, family of patients, to know which patient respond better, and then set a better protocol treatment. We have an anti-epidemic systems, but here today in EpiCrowd, we have a great opportunity later this afternoon to discuss an application called Saúde na Copa, that it's created by the startup EpiCrowd. That's the world's first application of participatory surveillance at the mass gathering. So it's a great opportunity to discuss this today at the EpiCrowd. We have a possibility of individual prevention in real time, like those wearable mechanisms, like Silvio Meira brought today, that take pictures of us today, the watch, the smart watch, that can tell us about arrhythmias, glucose levels, quality of sleep, if you sleep with your watch, and make a certain control of your health real time. And finally, there are around the world private data banks in the cloud that is accessible to public authorities, that generates a very great opportunity to describe better policies, public policy. But with all these possibilities, we have also some problems. And I subdivide the problems in matters, in 2 kinds of problems. The problems related to people, I call subjective problems, people that are organized, collect and manipulate the information, that need to do an adequate user interface design to not create a problem for the quality of the data. A poor user interface design can create serious damage to the information that is collected. And the other problem is a passive problem. It's from whom we collect information, the matters of privacy and intimacy that we discussed earlier. objective problem that I call is the problem with the matter itself, the object, the theme, the data, the information. So it's a methodological problem. How you collect information can be very benefit for everyone, but it can create a false information. So the data, if there's methodological problems, the data could be erroneous, miscoded, so unusable, fragmented, or even incomplete. I choose Zuppo, Costa, and Fernandes work that they create a SWOT table, meaning showing us the strength of big data in administrative force, the public administration, the weakness, the new opportunities, and the possible threats to that. And of course, we can discuss all this. There are so many variables. But I would like to highlight a strong tendency, where I can find this. Well, in the first, okay. Where is here? Here's the strength. There is a strong tendency in Brazil that is actually a state policy, not government policy, because there are increase in information communication technology investment since 2004, 2005. So this is a state policy, and it's very good for big data in the use in public administration. But for weakness, we found that still in public service, very strong unfamiliar feeling between stakeholders with big data potential, and that can create a serious problem. As opportunity, the research shows that in Brazil we have a strong, a high mobile penetration as a strong adherence to social networks. And yes, I will use the information that Silvio used earlier. In Brazil, more than 80% uses smartphones. So this is a great opportunity to collect information relevant and form a very consistent big data. And finally, as threat, we emphasize the concern with data privacy. Here in Brazil, the private laws about the respect of privacy and intimacy are very, very strong. So to generate an adequate structure, we have to think hard to make, an institute must be able to receive, store, process, analyze, and make sense out of data. And I chose this research of Podrosky and Hoffman, that they make 3 recommendations to make this adequate infrastructure. Well, the first one is the problem of semantic interoperability. We must be able to effectively exchange information using shared types of data, shared terminology, sharing codes, because it would be widely spread. Actually, we must be able also to make a very good data collection and storage. We must scan through electronic health records, extract relevant data, and then communicate findings to the agency, to the public agency properly. We must have this feedback between public power and private power, the civil society organized civil society, and the public administration. And at last, the data analysis must be consistent and includes the possibilities to estimate error rates, characterize uncertainty about data, and must be accurate. For instance, I brought here a very simple causal diagram that shows relationships between relevant variables, treatment and outcomes. And once we can understand this relation, we can think about better policies in implementing new policies. So, paper records, medical paper records, there is no use anymore for them. The transition to electronic health records is something already existing. It's a one-way reality. There's no turning back. And we can find very significant benefits for this new reality. But we have to be realistic about shortcomings and difficulties to this reality. And be prepared for possible problems originated from the information communication technologies. So, I thank you all for your hearing, and I would like to ask you all, if around the problem of private law and public law, how much information, how much sensitive information, like health, family, nutrition, sexual behavior, all of us are willing to give in order to be healthier. Thank you a lot.